Honorable Minority Leader. Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving some directives to the majority front bench. The minority leadership is concerned, and those concerns were earlier raised by the Deputy Minority Whip. A parliament with a majority of 187 cannot only be majority on ceremonial days, cannot be majority only on ceremonial days. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I watched the swearing in for the deputy ministers and Minister of State. A lot of the MPs on the majority front bench were at the Jubilee House. They were there, it was all over on the TV. Your business is in this chamber, not Jubilee. Mr. Speaker, it is very important. It is very important. I saw a lot of them. I watched the TV and I can produce evidence, show you the video evidence. Mr. Speaker, you being in majority is not only by words, but by your action, your own attitude towards your own government business. And when we talk and you'll be shouting behind, honorable members of the majority, even now, your 40 has reduced. Mr. Speaker, it's a very serious matter, and I want to tell them that until you bring your numbers in, the Minister of Finance is not going to lay any paper. It's not going to happen. You are less than 40. You are not going to lay any paper because you don't have the quorum. So this is the time for you to bring your numbers. You do. You need quorum. Okay, all right. You are now talking law. You want to go to procedure. You want me to show you where we need quorum to start business? All right, very well. Go to the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the President has 4 more nominees to present for us to deal with. If that 4 is causing anxiety, then your duty is to prevail on the President to bring the 4. It's delaying. Is this anxiety that is even causing you to be absent in this chamber? It's left with 4. You said 60. The Finance Minister was here applauding the government that, oh, we promised 60 minutes, we've delivered. Where are the 4? Are you being indecisive? Agriculture, you said, you promised. Agriculture for transformation agenda. Go to page 152 of your budget, Finance Minister. Go to page 152. You promised 1.5 billion only to allocate 924 million Ghana cedis. What is your seriousness on agriculture? You are rendering the Minister of Agriculture redundant, and you don't come here to do business. Well, the Finance Minister
Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would end. Mr. Speaker, I will end. But we are not formally going to raise this quorum because we believe that the Minister of Finance, after presenting budgets, must go through the necessary protocols so that this House can function. Deputy Majority Leader, today is your last. Your side must show seriousness. The NDC majority must show seriousness. We will let him lay his papers so that he can go back to the ministry. But this House is not for ceremonial days. Only sooner, then you come here. When it gets to budget, then you dress and come here. And then when it's left with government business, you don't want to come. Then you are all at Jubilee, negotiating for board, deputy minister, looking for appointments. absent majority. And they won't even keep quiet. Where are your numbers? Where are your numbers? Where are your numbers? We need your presence in this chamber. We need your presence in this chamber. Echinasu tomorrow. Speaker, I have two questions. The respected Foreign Minister, in an earlier answer, said that there are world leaders who are inward looking and are isolationists. And these are not the attributes of President Mahama. I want to know from him. This is a house of records. I want to know from him, who are these world leaders who are inward looking and isolationists? Who are these world leaders who are in office now that he's referring to? Thank you very much.
Honorable Minority Leader, did he say the world leaders are in office now?
Mr. Speaker, please, respectfully, context. He asked, maybe I'll give you a background again, though we are all in this chamber. Honorable John Jinapo talked about the attributes of the president and asked whether beyond the sub-region the president would go extend his diplomacy across the borders, beyond the borders of West Africa. The foreign minister, in an answer, observed that there are current world leaders who are isolationists and inward-looking. And these are not the attributes that President Mahama has. In his own words, maybe we can pause and call for the transcripts. That's what he said. It's not a matter of he related it to past leaders. Mr. Speaker, he contextualized it to refer to current world leaders. That is why I want him to bring clarity and let us know, because he's a foreign minister of the country, of our country. If there is any world leader who is an isolationist and an inward-looking leader, he is now dealing with world leaders. He should let us know so that we'll be guided. That's the question to him. He said it, not mine.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the minority leader is right that I did use those words, and we are seeing a rise in isolationism and inward-looking leadership. But the minority leader knows that the good dictates of diplomacy does not permit me to mention names. It will not be in our strategic national interest to mention names. We all know we're describing the qualities of President Mahama. We are talking about his belief in multilateralism, his belief in the collective approach, his belief in reaching out, in making sure that we all work together as a people, and that once we are united and integrated, there is more we can achieve than being inward-looking and being isolationist. So I think the point has been made. It suffices for me to say that these are the two varying qualities, contradictory qualities. We are blessed to have a leader who has qualities of multilateralism, of positive engagement, reaching out, and working together. So I think that should suffice. We should not we should not invite conflict or war upon ourselves. And I know that the minority leader is experienced in diplomacy and international relations, and it will not be good for this House to be listing leaders and trying to, if you like, pigeonhole them in a negative context, which will not be appropriate at this time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Your
Speaker.
next question.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with my respected colleague in part and disagree with him in part. Mr. Speaker, the metaphor created by him in his submission is entirely his. And I'm happy he says that we should not use the platform to mention names. However, I hold a view that he could have eloquently put out the attributes of President Mahama without the approach he adopted. To the extent that when he had the opportunity for the second time, he re-echoed that there is a current trend of isolationist leadership across the world. Obviously, this is a house of record. To the extent that you have anchored a submission on a trend, you are a diplomat. So if Mr. Speaker would agree with this prayer, I would pray that that aspect of the submission be expunged. It's entirely your decision, and then we are here to help each other, not to isolate one another and think that pouncing. That's not my style in politics. And he knows that I've been engaged in international politics for some time, proud to he assuming office. I believe that you can still talk about the attributes of your leader. You don't need to make that point. So I pray, Mr. Speaker, that portion, that there is a trend of isolationist leaders and inward-looking leaders across the group, be expunged. If you don't want it to be expunged, that is entirely yours. I will move to my next question, which is my final do. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, you may determine it before.
You can proceed to ask the next question.
Very well. Mr. Speaker, my final question to my respected colleague. Mr. Speaker, he says that the president, as part of his multilateral diplomacy, that posture, thus far, he's received applause. And when he was pushed further, he said, well, the applause is coming from analysts, pundits, and contributors in the international tabloids, international media. Can the respected diplomats and member of this House give us these contributors by name, these pundits, which newspaper, which global newspaper, which tabloids, which dates, so that this House can fully apprise itself of these great attributes and join in celebrating our president, and join him and others in celebrating the president. Mr. Speaker, that is my question, please.
Very well, Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, just to address the first part of the minority leader's concern. The minority leader should be assured that the trends that I've spoken to are trends that have been openly discussed, for which even international organizations like the UN, the AU, have had sessions to discuss this trend. So there is nothing we stand to lose, even as a house. Actually, in the coming weeks, I will be bringing a statement here on that threat and what we can do as a house to be more resilient, because the requirement of what is going on now in the international arena is that African countries in particular, including Ghana, must fashion out new foreign policies that makes us more resilient, that makes us more self-reliant, so that we do not have to depend, because the global order has changed. And the tapestry of global leaders now are not the same as it was. And this is a fact that international organizations are discussing. So this, we shouldn't play ostrich about these, and we don't need to mention specific names, but these are facts. These are facts. Even in our budget this year, new allocations have been made to take note of the current global order, and that is a fact. The second part of the Honorable Minority Leader's submission. The second part of the minority leaders, can the minority leader, I'm responding to you. I'm responding to you. The request by the minority leader is very much in order, and I'm willing to table that. I'll table all the links. There's VOA, there's Financial Times, there's Le Monde, there's New York Times. I'll table all of that and make all those articles available. So, Mr. Speaker, please be assured that is an exercise I'm very, very happy to produce. But, Mr. Speaker, on a lighter note, the minority leader and I, we like that. On a lighter note, I'm wondering where the minority leader was when his colleagues behind him were calling on me to condemn specific world leaders. Specific world leaders. They were calling on me to condemn them, and I stayed away from that. And he didn't advise them, but is now seeking to advise me. So it's quite interesting. Sometimes the double standards of the minority leader. But that's on a lighter note. It's on a lighter note. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, let there be order. Honourable Minority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In this House, we say that this is a House of records. So when somebody says something and it's not for the records, same cannot be relied upon to make a submission, whether seriously or on a lighter note. So I would want my respected colleague, although on a lighter note, to withdraw the submission to the effect that I approach matters with double standards. No, that is not me. I mean, Hansard, 30 years from today, 20 years from today, our kids will come and read Hansard. So we have to deal with matters of record. So,
Honourable Minority Leader, we know you are a man of single standard, not double standard.
No, Mr. Speaker,
double standard should be expunged from the record.
So, yeah, Mr. Speaker, I just want that to be done.
Yes, that is what I have done.
Very well.
Yes,
Mr. Speaker,
yes.
that said, let me plead with our respected foreign minister. Although he says that he doesn't want to mention a name, which I agree with. But Mr. Speaker, we are learning and will continue to learn. Doesn't he think that it wouldn't be too much for him to take away that phrase, a trend in isolationist leaders? Because, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we are guiding ourselves as leaders. This is a serious matter, and I don't want our foreign minister to be cited in any tabloid to have said that, yes, President Mahama has the attribute of reaching out beyond the borders of his country and even beyond the borders of West Africa. And he is not acting like the way other isolationist and inward-looking leaders are doing now. I think it's a bit on the hard side, especially when this House is not being given the opportunity to know who these leaders are. Can that one go off? Again, I think that it will be in the best interest of our foreign minister to take that phrase out. It wouldn't hurt. Just for the good of his own diplomacy. That's all I want to say.
Honorable Minority Leader, he even stated categorically that he may bring a statement to that effect, and it's a matter being discussed at the international scene. Honorable Majority. Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, two issues on this rising. The practice has always been that even before the minister brings such a major policy matter, he engages with the leadership of the House. The finance minister was a minority leader and also a majority leader of this House. You have not seen, and I don't even know whether it's you're bringing it under a certificate of urgency or you've gazetted. No. I want to find out. I need to know. Yes, it doesn't matter. I need to know. So at least I should know. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you look at his budget, because I'm concerned, you proposed some 1.5 billion to the Ministry of Agric. And then if you look at the expenditure, the allocation, you gave them 924 million. So these engagements help. You know, when you were the ranking, you could spot some issues and engage.
Honorable Minority Leader, I believe strongly that next week the budget is coming forward for debate.
Mr. Speaker, don't get me out of context, respectfully. Mr. Speaker, we are not debating the budget. But there are procedural matters that we need to bring to his attention. You are a man of procedure. Practices of this House must be respected. How does a minister bring a major policy issue? Leadership is not aware. He's only saying he engaged. So I've not seen it. The whole of yesterday, I was around. He has my number. I've been in the office. I've not seen it. And I'm seeing this the first time in this chamber. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable.
Yes, Honorable Finance Minister.
Mr. Speaker, today won't be the first time for a minister responsible for finance to lay a finance bill, either to repeal a bill or amend a bill. Mr. Speaker, I engaged the Deputy Minority Whip when I arrived in this House with the finance bills. At the time, the Honorable Minority Leader was not in the chamber. And I asked the Deputy Minority Leader that can I lay the following bills? The Speaker, the Deputy Minority Whip is very much aware that we are laying the bills today. Mr. Speaker, I did the engagement even before the order paper was printed. Maybe my former colleague and my former friend, my former friend, now my brother, doesn't know the kind of engagement that we had. Mr. Speaker, I have now elevated him from my former, as a former friend to now brother. Did engage the caucus, and he was not in the chamber at the time. He was not in the chamber at the time. Mr. Speaker, all what I seek to do is to lay these bills for the Finance Committee to be able to consider the bills. Nothing more, nothing less. Mr. Speaker, all what we are seeking to do is to relieve the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian. That is what we are trying to do. So, Mr. Speaker, if you permit me, I will lay this bill and you urge the Finance Committee to urgently consider this to relieve the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I want Hansa to always record the accurate facts. I am not saying that there was no engagement. I haven't said that. And I won't be dishonest in saying that. What I'm saying is that beyond the engagement, you should have given us copies, discussed the copies. When I entered the chamber, the deputy whip informed me that you've had discussion with him. But he didn't have copies. And you concede on that indeed you didn't share with us. When I asked, you said the clerk at table had copies. All my argument basically is on the fact that we didn't get copies. Now, we had to draw Mr. Speaker's attention to your absence for you to come. And when you come, you keep quiet to allow us to work. Mr. Speaker, so we will proceed to cooperate with the majority side for these bills to be laid. But for the finance minister to say that he wants to do this to relieve the ordinary Ghanaian of the pain he's going through. What he is not telling the ordinary Ghanaian is that these taxes are what this government is relying on to pay for fuel for ministers, to pay for expenses at the presidency. Look at the amount they allocated to the presidency. You are giving in excess of 2 billion to the presidency, and you gave only 50 million to the women in banking. And then your 24-hour economy policy is not even ready. And you say you want to relieve Ghanaians.
Honourable members, order.
Mr. Speaker, I don't want the finance minister to start his debates now. I don't want him to introduce any debate. He's here to lay his papers. He should lay them and go to the ministry in peace. Because the jobs he promised Ghanaian youth, he's telling us that this year there will be no employment. The youth who were in your party office looking for a job, what are you doing for them? What that Ghana for?
Honourable members,
A superior understanding of the law, and I appreciate it. What I think the member wanted to know was that the explanatory memorandum and the explanatory statement should have taken root from what the minister himself said in his budget statement. Mr. Speaker, yes, he has a right to give an explanatory statement. But that shouldn't be something unbeknown to this House. All that the Deputy Minority Whip is saying is that in your own budget statement, you made some commitment. And true to it, you've come under item F, Income Tax Amendment Bill. So in giving us an explanatory statement, his legitimate expectation is to the effect is that what you have said in the budget statement will be the basis for that explanation. You can't come to this House and tell us something new. Mr. Speaker, you know, Dr. Forson was once a leader in this House, and he knows that when we were working together, there was no way I said anything outside of the records. He said he didn't say so. Let me refer him to his statement. Paragraph 141. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 10% withholding tax on winning from lottery, otherwise known as the betting tax. Mr. Speaker, this is a house of debate. Please, Mr. Speaker, this is a house of debate. A member must patiently listen, so that if you are opposed to my views, you rise in your seat. You know, from your seat where you belong, then you oppose me. Mr. Speaker, so the minority whip is not asking for a question. He's not asking the minister a question. Neither is he demanding something from the minister outside of what the minister has said. When we are enacting a law, we bring a bill. There is always this memorandum that gives a background to the bill. Mr. Speaker, what is the background to this item F? The background to it is that there was a certain tax by the previous government, which tax was implemented. Mr. Speaker, we can do the propaganda out there, understand. As politicians, we can do what we want to do. But when it comes to the facts, we cannot depart from them. The question is, Honorable Minister, this particular tax that you are seeking to amend, was it ever implemented? The very tax, the very one that you put in your budget statement, I want to know. So the deputy whip is only asking you to explain, and in explaining, you cannot go outside of what you have already told this House. That is his contention.
Honorable Minority Leader. You see, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, with respect. Mr. Speaker, with respect. Normally, when you rule, a member is supposed to rise to extend courtesy. He was on his feet to extend courtesy. But Mr. Speaker, all you have are the five of us on both sides. All you have are the five of us on both sides. So please, we give a smile. Let's exchange pleasantries. There is no way Habib would undermine you. Mr. Speaker, if you say that, oh, he should go ahead and accuse you, he was getting up to thank you that as the chair pleases. As the chair pleases. Because he wasn't coming to attack you. Mr. Speaker, we are in this together. And if he is your leader, and then there are backbenchers both sides, and then it's like, go ahead and accuse him. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, that's one I would plead with you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the practice has always been that the member must share his statement. Once the Speaker ruled on this matter, that when the statement is admitted, he must share sufficient copies with colleagues. Mr. Speaker, let's not be departing from our practices and conventions. He is now sharing, and we don't have copies. How do we make meaningful comment on this? Mr. Speaker, second, the majority side of this House, Mr. Speaker, if you count them now, all their seats are empty. Yes, this is a House of record. We want to constantly remind you that you are making this a ceremonial chamber. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You only come into this chamber on ceremonial days. Look, count, you are less than 30 in this chamber. Currently, you are less than 30. You cannot be using the Jubilee House as your office. This is the Chamber of Parliament. You are always moving to the Jubilee House. The time has come for you to respect your whips. No, Mr. Speaker, you always want your chief whip to be. You were first elected as a member of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, the majority side must come into this chamber. We are going to raise quorum. You must come and work. Yes, because you want to go home. Because you want to go home. You want to go home. Look at all your empty seats. Mr. Speaker, you don't come here claiming that you are 187, yet you enter this chamber with 30-40. Mr. Speaker, today is Thursday. On Tuesday, I observed something very disappointing. Honorable Doyo had to be chasing people to sign. Why do you make the work of your leaders difficult? You don't come to work. You must always be whipped before you enter the chamber to do your parliamentary work. Mr. Speaker, you currently are 41. You are not even up to 50. 41 of 187. Leader. Mr. Speaker, this is a House of records. Our rules and the Constitution must be respected. Mr. Speaker, they came into office promising jobs. Yet, they are not giving jobs. Mr. Speaker, there is a net freeze on employment. 3, Mr. Speaker, they are all so-called 24-hour economy policy. They don't find space in the budget. These are matters that must engage the attention.
Leader, please, let me listen, I'll come back to you.
Let me conclude so that he comes in.
Okay.
Let me conclude so that he comes in. Mr. Speaker, besides, they don't come into this chamber. They are chasing for board appointment. The board appointments are for non-MPs. Those who didn't get MP, those who didn't get opportunity. You want to be a board chairman. They are chasing for boards. When you are in opposition, Mr. Speaker, no MP should be on a board. Yeah, that is NPP.
Honorable members, please, we must at any point in time listen to one person. So you let him talk. After, I'll give the opportunity to someone.
The chief whip. After that, your chief whip will also talk. Mr. Speaker, when we were in government, they criticized MPs serving on boards. Today, as a member of parliament on the majority side, your job is to come to the chamber and work, not to be at the Jubilee House chasing, saying that if you didn't get ministerial, they should consider you for a board. You are not going to serve on a board. Mr. Speaker, there are 4 more deputy ministerial nominees to be done. 4 more. Meanwhile, we have prominent women in this chamber who have been denied the opportunity to serve in government.
Leader.
What has happened to the affirmative action?
Leader. Thank you.
I'm concluding.
Conclude.
What has happened to the affirmative action? You only appointed 10% women into government. Mr. Speaker, I can mention names of honorable members who worked so hard and today they've been left dejected, depressed and frustrated.
Leader, thank you.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. The chief whip, if he so desires, can respond to me. If he responds to me and there's a right of reply, I will exercise that right.